in the various parts of the body, we need to find out what happens. Human health assessments for microplastics come from the German Risk Assessment Group, the European Food Agency, the French agency ANSYS, the World Health Organization, and Environmental and Climate Change Canada. Those are the leading contributors to this research. The conclusions from these studies are that toxic effects have been shown to the general human microbiome, signs of oxidative stress on human tissue and inflammatory responses, toxicity in the thyroid, and toxicity in the female and male reproductive systems and processes, as well as other areas of the body. Dr. Hutchings points out that this is just the tip of the iceberg. It is projected that within 5 years, there will be much more conclusive data due to the fact that the number of studies has increased so quickly. As these studies are completed and more is known, TGSN will keep you informed. In the meantime, make an effort to minimize your exposure. Buy bulk foods and carry them home in paper bags. Use wooden cutting boards, metal or ceramic bowls. Do not use plastic utensils, cups, bowls, or plates. Eat carry-out foods that come in paper containers, not plastics, and avoid packaged foods. Often, it is much cheaper to buy things that aren't pre-packaged. You just have to peel them and cut them up and wash them yourself. Okay, on to Israel. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has told the United States that he opposes the establishment of a Palestinian state that did not guarantee Israel's security once the conflict in Gaza comes to an end. In a news conference, a defiant Netanyahu vowed to press on with the offensive in the Gaza until complete victory and the destruction of Hamas and the return of the remaining Israeli hostages, adding it could take many more months. This places Netanyahu and its right-wing government at odds with the United States, which has stated that, quote, a two-state solution is the only feasible way to bring lasting peace to the region, end quote. This latest flare-up of the decades-old Palestinian conflict started with Hamas militants when they stormed into southern Israel on October 7th, killing 1,200 people and taking 240 hostages. Israel says that more than 130 hostages still remain in captivity. To be clear, Hamas is a terrorist group that is based on the Gaza Peninsula, but is not the Palestinian government, nor does it represent the Palestinian people. The events of this war are often misrepresented by the Israeli right-wing hardliners, who fail to point out the difference between the terrorist group and the citizens of Palestine. This is evident in their bombing raids, which have killed more than 20,000 Palestinian citizens, almost half being children. The United States has said that while it backs Israel's right to defend itself, that it must do so in a far more reasonable way. We will keep you involved. Now we move to Japan. The situation in central Japan's northern peninsula remains severe more than 2 weeks after the devastating 7.5 magnitude earthquake and the tsunami that followed. Extreme cold weather has descended on the impacted area, posing health risks to the survivors. So far, 232 people have been confirmed dead from this disaster. Small businesses in Ishikawa have also been affected. This has prompted Japan to double the funds for disaster relief to over 1 trillion yen. Satellite imagery, which you see in our graphic, both before and after the quake, shows that the intense uplift extends the coastline by up to 830 feet. Images show the coastal area where the seaflow has risen, creating newly exposed beaches. These changes have left some ports completely dry and inaccessible to boats. And if you think that through, that means, when you have a seaside city, seaside town, you have an entire economy based on fishing, on things that are done with the sea, the harvesting of seaweeds, all of the different things, the desalination efforts, all of those things will be shut down. It is a devastating impact, and it lasts far beyond the actual earthquake. And now we go to our commentary this week. Okay, everybody wants to win. Everybody wants to be the richest, the most famous, the most important, the most powerful, and eternally young. Everybody wants to be the very best immediately. So let's look at what this really means. There are two parts to this urgency. First, how to achieve your goal. Second, what your goal is. The way to achieve the goal of being the very best at something is to, well, become the very best at that thing. Not just say you are, but actually be that. And this takes time, education, and very hard work. It also takes consistent dedication to one thing rather than constantly shifting what you want to do. If you do not stick with something, then you will never achieve it. This is very difficult to do and remain young forever. So the way to achieve top status is consistency and tenacity. When things don't go well, keep on going. Don't quit. And study everything you can about that thing that is your goal. Read autobiographies by people who have come before you and done a version of what you want to do. Also read the biographies of them. This is because in an autobiography, a book is written about a person by that person. And that book will tell you a very personal story. It will show you the times when things weren't going well and how that person kept with it, didn't quit. You will also get personal tips, things to watch out for, and things to make sure that you do. Now, a biography is a book written about a person by another person. And it will not just look at that person, but others who tried and failed, the general segment of society in which that goal exists, and what conditions favored the success of your hero. Also study the subject in school and outside of school. You must also practice the skills thousands and thousands of times to get really good at it. Now that brings us to the goal itself. Earlier, I listed money, fame, influence, power, and youth. These are very common aspirations. Now, my mother always said, when you get to the top of the hill, they start shooting at you. And this is very true. So think about it. The more money you have, the more people will try to take it from you. The more famous you are, the more people invade your privacy. The more influence you have, the more people will argue with you. The more power you have, the more people will try to overpower you. And youth, well, the longer you live, the older you get. So, what are other goals of supremacy that might work out better for you? I'm going to suggest some that I've seen in my long life that tend to work out really well for people. And I suggest you choose from this list the best you can be, the nicest person in the world, the best friend, the most trustworthy, the most reliable, the most honest, the wisest, not very common in youth, the kindest person, the most helpful, and the most fair. You get the idea. If you choose one of these characteristics and dedicate yourself to it, never give up, learn everything you can about it, and practice it every day, chances are you're going to be called that thing legitimately. And your life is going to be pretty great. I'm Ken Ludden. Thank you for watching TGSN. Now we return to our program.
First Global Studios, Africa #1.
Okay. Welcome back to the Global Sunday Show. Welcome, welcome back.
Now I have a question. I
Okay.
already said Salbona, which is what you say to say hello when people you first see them in the day. Now I already saw you today, so what do I say? Hey, bud.
Well,
What's
if it
up?
was if it was English, what would you say?
Hello.
You say hello?
I don't know what I don't.
I mean,
I'm
it's
really too busy to talk to people. I just say, "Hey, you get that, do that." No.
so if it was English, you would say welcome back.
Ah,
Yeah,
ah.
in which it's a completely different lesson in IsiZulu.
Okay.
So
Well,
that's
anyway, I
like
was
skipping
trying to say it, but
lessons.
the only thing I knew how to say hi to you again was Salbona, and I knew that was wrong. So,
No.
so welcome back, Lungani.
Well, there is a way to say welcome back in Zulu, but I don't wanna. It's not Lenis's Zulu yet, and I wouldn't wanna
Yeah. I know.
reveal that.
Sorry.
But yeah, it's different. It's just like in English. In English, you when you first see somebody, you say hello, and then maybe they go do something, and you don't have to say hello again.
Yeah.
You saw
Well,
them for the
usually when
first
I
time and you
see
said
people, I
hello. They went to
say,
get coffee and they came back. You say hello again. It doesn't make sense.
right.
And you don't have to
Yeah.
say welcome back unless it's like a show like the Global Sunday Show, and you can say welcome back.
Yeah. True.
Or it's good to see you again, or whatever.
I'm just trying to be a good Zulu citizen.
Try harder.
What is it that Yoda said? Do or do not. There is no try.
Do it exactly. Yeah, that's what you normally say
All
to
right.
us. That's what you normally
Welcome
say
back.
to us. It's good. do or do not do. There's no try. Yeah.
Right.
Pamela, my new friend Pamela. I gotta meet you, Pamela. All right, so let's go straight. Talking about the about Lenisi Zulu. Let's go to Lenisi Zulu. And if you are watching wherever you're watching from right now, this is a big moment for you because you are about to learn a new language, and it's one of the most famous language in Africa. Africa as a whole. Africa as a whole. It's very close to Swahili. It's interesting. I have new friends here in Prescott. They go to Riddle.
Emery Riddle.
Embry Riddle, yeah. And so when they having a conversation on their own, or maybe when I'm on the phone call and talking to somebody from South Africa, and they're like, "What? Did you say isinkwa? What does that mean?" I'm like, "Oh, it means bread or whatever." They're like, "What? It also means the same thing in Swahili." And I'm like, "There you go." It's just awesome. It's just awesome. Learning new languages. It's like it's the most amazing thing ever. And when it clicks, you remember when we had just quickly before we go to learn Zulu. I know that the people who are just here to learn Zulu. But remember when we had Frank and Machi a year
Yes.
ago, a couple of months ago. They started speaking Dutch.
Yeah.
They started speaking Dutch, and I was in the kitchen, and they were in the office, and they were like, talking to the family, and they were like, whatever the word was, and I was like, huh, that sounds familiar. And I just couldn't wait. I went like running. I barged into the office, and I was like, did you guys just say whatever the word was? And they look at me and the family. I'm seeing the family and the child and the parents on the phone call. It was like a video call, and they're so confused. What's going on? Who's this guy? And I'm like, does that mean this, and that? And they're like, yeah. Why? I'm like, that's an African language. It was so fantastic. Anyway, so
In
like
that, well, that makes sense. The Dutch, what is it? The Dutch East India Trading Company.
right.
They sent all of their boats went through Ethiopia, which your ancestors came from Ethiopia originally
Right.
before migration. They also sent them down around the tip of Africa, Cape Town. And so, yeah, and the Dutch were actually the originators of the Afrikaans.
Afrikaans, Afrikaans, yeah. So it's really interesting, you know. If you are out there, I mean, try it. Learn new languages, learn new words, even if it's a couple of words. That's gonna inspire you to do more, to learn more, because you get to see the differences between languages, how people, say things, and it's completely different. But when it gets to a point where it clicks, and it has the, like I said, one more thing. This language is okay. So I think I'm gonna be like a professional language teacher because I'm really falling in love with this. There was it was Kaishi and not Eric. Who else was here? From Flag.
Matia?
Not Matia, but from
Victor.
Victor was here, and we were in the kitchen and we were cooking, and we were just playing around and trying to find out the differences between the. So Kaishi was teaching us Japan, and Victor was teaching us was it Croatian?
Yeah.
Croatian.
Well, yeah, Croatian, Latvian, not Croatian, Latvian. He's from Latvia.
He's from Latvia, so it was Latvian. And then I was like, playing around with Zulu as well. But we found out the most interesting thing, that there are words that you pronounce the same way, but they mean something different.
Ah.
I think I will talk about this some other time, because some of the words, like, there are words that I need to think about before I can say them. Yeah, there are words that I need to process before I can like share in the public. But it was really interesting that Kaishi has the same word, and then in Latvia there's the same word, and in Zulu there's the same word, but it says like it means completely different things. And I was like, and we started using those words. I was like, and then would say, so which language are you referring that to? I thought it was really fun. Okay, so anyways, never mind. Let's go to Lenny Sisu. Let's go to Lenny Sisu. Welcome to Lenny Zulu with Lungani. I shouldn't show this actually. I should just do an introduction and then catch up on what we did last week. If you are here for the first time, oh, that's the camera right there. If you are here for the first time, this is Lenny Zulu with Lungani. And don't hesitate. If you have questions and you have something that you do not understand and you want me to elaborate, to clarify, look, send me an inbox, send me a DM, or drop a comment below. If you're watching on Instagram, send me a DM, ask me a question. I'll be glad to answer that question. And also, when you're communicating with me, it would be really fantastic if you use these words that I'm going to be teaching you today. So last week, our first a couple of weeks ago, our first lesson was Sawubona, which is hello, and how you pronounce it is Sawubona. As you can see right here at the bottom, this is how you would say it if you're not an African language speaker. So what you see right here, this will help you to have a correct pronunciation, so that you don't sound like, oh yeah, you're one of those people who are trying to like speak Zulu. But then at the same time, having the correct accent, it helps you to not repeat yourself. This is what I learned when I came here in America. I was like, oh yeah, sometimes Americans, look, I'm not being I'm not attacking Americans, but I realized that sometimes they'll just get rid of T's, especially if it's double T's. It will become a D sometimes, and sometimes it's not going to be there at all. So I would say something and I would have to say it over and over and over again. I'm like, oh yeah, letter. I'm like, okay, letter. So when somebody goes to a different country and they come back, and especially for like a couple of years, and they come back and they pronouncing words in a different way, they trying to like be in the middle and trying to adjust into these different accents, because it's not because you change the accent because you want to. It's because it takes a lot of time when you're trying to explain yourself, and somebody says what, and so and you really want to explain this, and you want to get done with this as quickly as you can, but then people are like, what are you talking about? What and what? You end up adjusting and saying, no, I mean letter instead of letter. So yeah, let's just understand that and be patient with people, and not think that now because they went to Africa, they trying to speak like Africans, or now because they went to America, they trying to speak like Americans. You want to make the process quicker. Okay, so back to learning Zulu. Sawubona, hello. Like I said previously, you can say it in the morning, you can say it in the afternoon, you can say it in the evening. It doesn't matter. As long as you're seeing that person for the first time, you say hello. If you've seen that person before, you're not going to say hello. Don't say that. It's going to sound stupid. Okay? But if you understand the language and you've spoken the language more, you can have a way to express that so it makes sense. So currently, don't do that. Don't say hello. Don't say hello twice. Okay? So let's look at our word for today. I think we had another word. So we had sawubona. Let me see. Unjani.
Unjani.
Yes,
Yeah.
we had unjani. Yeah, there you go. We had unjani. Unjani means how are you? And how you pronounce it is unjani. Look, I'm trying my best to create like a way, like a format where I can help you guys pronounce this correctly. So unjani is like right here. Unjani, and I'll advise you to put an N on J, so it can have that sense of unjani rather than ujani. Ujani sounds like something is missing. So again, if you have a question, just inbox me, send me a voice note, try to say it, and I can take that voice note and play it here while I'm teaching IsiZulu and be like, oh yeah, there's somebody who was listening and they pronounce it correctly, or I can learn something from that pronunciation that you would send to me. So you do that. Okay, let's also look at today's lesson. Okay, so first lesson, hello, sawubona. Second lesson, unjani, which is how are you? And then today's lesson is ngiyaphila, which is I'm fine, I am alive. And how you spell it, ngiyaphila, like how you peel your banana, ngiyaphila, but you add that ler, which will create that la sound. And it's a response. When somebody, don't say ngiyaphila like if somebody didn't ask you how how are you, which is unjani. Don't say it. If they don't ask you, just walk away or start something else or start a new conversation. But it's a response. This is a response. If you ask them how are you, and then they say I'm fine, and then they also say how are you, then you say I'm fine. Okay, which is ngiyaphila, and the word would be the question would be unjani. Okay, so I think that's it for today. If you have any questions, please do send me an inbox or drop a comment below. I'd really be excited to help you guys. Like I said, my New Year's resolution, by the way, is to have a group of Prescottonians coming with me to Africa and explore Africa and have a conversation with Africans. With that said, let's go back to our program on the Global Sunday Show. Thank you for watching Learning Zulu with Lungani Kwala. I'll see you next week. Cheers.
Welcome back, not Saubona. No, that's really, really interesting. And I'm really, of course, happy to learn it. And I was not aware of those things happening in the house. Of course, I'm always busy and doing things, but with the Dutch language, the Latvian language, Japanese language,
Right.
and Zulu language. I mean, and in our academy, we have programs on 6 continents. We've got people from all over the world all the time visiting, and it really is wonderful to have the multicultural and multilinguistic atmosphere. It's so good, And if you're out there in the public and you haven't traveled a lot,
Mm.
there are probably things that you assume are just the way they are.
Yeah.
That if you start to travel, you're going to find out it's not. And what you have to do is you have to approach it. There's an image that I always think of because I've traveled all over the world. And one thing that I always try to do when I'm traveling is go to the zoo in that country.
To the
Um,
zoo?
the zoo, the zoological park,
Oh,
where you
okay.
can go. You have all different animals and things like that. I love doing that. When you see an animal, a bird that's a different color and shape, or a little furry thing that's doing something that you've never seen before,
Mm-hmm.
in a zoo, that's something that is deemed important enough to introduce people to in a zoo park. What you do is you say, wow, that's interesting. I wonder like how it cries for help. I wonder how it eats, what it eats. I wonder what its mating ritual is. It's, you know what I mean? Like what is its pattern? That's how we look at those things that when it's an animal. Um, when you have a baby, any baby that you run into, you look at it and you look for signs of that baby's personality. You don't look for that baby to imitate you or fit into your culture or something. You look for what's different about that baby. And when it's a new kind of an animal, what's different about this? If it's a new kind of food, what does it taste like? What does it smell like? You know, but when we go outside of our culture, we often feel attacked. We know what's right. This is the way it's supposed to be, and they don't do it that way here, and therefore it's wrong. And you have to approach it like you would approach a baby and looking for that baby's individual characteristics, looking for the animal and what does its song sound like? Is it crying or is it singing? You don't know because you don't know that animal. You have to do that with other cultures too. What is culturally appropriate? You said something in your IsiZulu that if you say Jampila without somebody saying Unjani first, you're going to sound stupid. You know what I mean? So it's you have to learn the culture and you have to respect the culture because your culture is just as different to theirs as theirs is to you. And this is where we come into this thing about just respecting people, coming from come from an attitude of respect, come from an attitude of wonder, come from the knowledge that whatever power, whatever name you give to the power that organizes the universe, has created that specific thing to make the picture perfect, not to disturb you or to contradict you. This world is perfect. It's in balance. It's always changing. Every time we run into somebody, there's something to learn. There's some way we can expand our heart, our spirit. And so when you get to this multicultural aspect and like learning another language, you're not just learning a language, you're learning a way to think. You're learning an orientation to life and the world around you. And in that place, that's the best thing. It's the solution. So I just had those thoughts.
I'm glad I have a little bit of an impact. Yeah. And I'm really surprised. No, I'm not surprised, but I'm really convinced or impressed, by the fact that you were able to pick those things up. It shows how important this is. Sometimes there's times where you think that your language is not important because you've been within your language for too long. I know there's probably people who think that I don't know about English, but there's probably people who think that because they've been within that for too long, they don't see the importance of their language, whether it's English, whether it's whatever language it is. But hearing somebody, who speaks a different language, pronouncing this and being spot on, it just creates something that is positive, that instills something in my mind. I don't know how to explain it, but I think it shows how important languages are. I think if, as human beings, were to focus on learning languages more than anything else, I think there will be a huge change, because the understanding of languages pushes you to understand the culture as well, the communication, so that you don't just communicate with people the way that suits you, your culture, or your language, but you also meet them halfway with an understanding of their language. So I think that was really profound. And I was like, you saw me, I was like smiling, and I was like, if I had an audience here, they'll be clapping for you, for being able to pronounce those words correctly like that. It's just so amazing. Congratulations to you.
Well, thank you. A couple of years ago, I think it was 2021,
Yeah.
was the 175th anniversary of Vanderbilt University in the United States. The Chancellor of Vanderbilt, in about 2015, announced the objectives for that celebration of the 175th year of the university. He announced that in the modern day, and this is before COVID, okay, that if there is a new disease, the solution to that disease and the problem it causes isn't just in medicine. It's in medicine, it's in technology, it's in transportation, it's in manufacturing, it's in economics, it's in communication, it's in all of those things, that all of the problems of the world will be only solved by all of the different things coming together to work out how to address and solve the problem. So what he did was he established that in the first year of the university, every single student has to do a project in a group that is done in a language that is foreign to all the members of that group, so that they learn a foreign language and how to think, how to come together in the context of another approach to reality to have a solution. In this case, the solution is completing the project. I suggested to him that they add music as a foreign language and choreography as a foreign language. Because in music and choreography, you don't have words to be the meanings. You have feelings, you have transitions, you have interactions that become the meaning. He never got back to me. I don't know if he accepted it or not. So I will accept the applause from the studio audience for. I was crossing my fingers and hoping I was going to get it right when I said those words.
He
But
disappeared,
seriously, what you're saying is true. If you learn a foreign language, you are learning how to totally respect other people.
Okay, so let me take my microphone off on. I absolutely agree. I a couple of days ago, I met a guy, amazing gentleman. We had a meeting a couple of days ago, and we trying to put something together. But he told me a very sensitive story about his life, and he said, "Hey, I am all about helping community and helping people, and I'm all about health, and I have a reason behind that. I was sick for a long time, and I tried medication, and it was like, yeah, medication was helping at some extent, it would help me to keep going, but it wasn't getting me to where I wanted to be, you know." And then he watched a movie that was based on health, um, I don't know, nutrition and mental health, nutrition, fitness or whatever. But the movie was based on health. He watched that movie and he says that movie changed his life. He started, you know, um, doing things differently. He started eating differently. He started like he changed. He took all the advices that he got from that movie. He sent me a text of the name of the movie, and I thought that was a phenomenal story. And he was completely healed. He's a healthy man, and he understands his body more than how he used to. He never cared about his body. He never cared about his diet. He never cared about anything. He never had any plans. But after watching that movie, he changed completely. So I'm just balancing and adding on your point that it's not only just one thing. It's a whole lot of these like recipes. You put all these recipes together and then it makes this one delicious thing that is stable. So
Yeah.
I thought I should share that. I'm not gonna
What
say.
do you know the name? Do you remember the name of the movie? I mean, everybody watching is wanting to know what movie it is. We all want our lives to be better.
So the idea is to have this gentleman on the show
Ah, great.
so he can talk about his story. He can say his story, because right now it's my story, you know. So I'm talking about him. So we're gonna have him on the show, and he's definitely gonna take us from A to Z. I thought it was like mind blowing. It was really mind blowing, and it's a similar story to a guest that we had a couple of years ago, Tiffany Seal.
Yes.
Tiffany Seal. For her, it was like a weight concerning type of issue, but she was able to overcome it. When I saw her, it was like this lady has a perfect body. But when she told me her story, it was like, oh yeah, this is how I used to look like, and I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
So it's just amazing. We are gonna have the guy here on the show probably next week, and yeah, I will send the event to everybody so they can highlight if they're coming and they can ask the questions and probably ask what the name of the movie, because I know he told me but I can't remember. you know
Well, then that's definitely a show for all of us to look forward to. You know what you're saying, Lungani, and the recipe and the things coming together.
yeah.
What I often use as an example, and of course I teach children and adults,
Mm.
and this example tends to work for everybody, is I talk about the hand and the thumb and all of the different fingers in your hand. If I turn it this way, it's easier to do. And when you put them together in a fist, it becomes something powerful.
Mm.
It's united, it works together, and a fist can do things that any finger cannot do. And a fist minus any one of the fingers, I won't do them all because I'll get the wrong one, but you practice at home, do
Do
all of
them
the
all.
fingers.
Do them all.
Anyway,
Joking.
when all comes together, you have something that is unique and very powerful. That unity, the unity. The name of the show is the Global Sunday. Okay. When I prepare the news, I don't look at any of the news sources inside of my country or inside of any other country. there are a couple of news sources out there that look at the whole world equally, and they don't just talk about the news of their country or what's important to them. The BBC talks about what's important to Britain and Europe and the United States, but it doesn't talk about the whole rest of the world. So it's addressing maybe 30 nations out of 190. Okay. What I do is I look at the whole world and try to find the finger in the fist that is missing, that is having a problem, and so the fist can't function because of the economy in Venezuela, of the injustice to women in Afghanistan, and to the civil war in Northern Africa. Those things make the fist of humanity, the globe, less powerful. We have to come together and to do that. So yeah, your point is very, very well taken.
That's beautiful. Absolutely well said. And um, it goes back to also when people working together. You can translate it in different ways, as long as you have an understanding and a direction of how something works when there's a whole lot of different things coming together to create this one beautiful thing. But we have 3 minutes before we close the show.
Okay.
I would like to have each of us saying our last words to the people who are watching today, and just to wrap up today's show. And yeah, what are your last words, Mr. Laden, for today?
So my last words for today, I'm old and I have a lot of experience, but I invite every single one of you, surprise me. Show me something I've never seen before. Expand my heart and my knowledge and my worldview to have to embrace something that I can't even imagine. Each one of you has that power. And so surprise me, surprise yourself, surprise your family, your community. Show something that you have that is unique, that is part of that coming together, that unity that makes us powerful.
Wow. As they always say, it's not a wise idea to talk after Mr. Laden. Thank you so much, Mr. Laden. As always, you are always bringing something that is phenomenal on the show. And, every week, every time you say something, people learn something. Thank you so much for being in the show. And thank you so much for the news as well to keep people updated. With that said, also, thank you so much, from you at home who's watching and, spending time to watch the show. Look, we want to engage with you. We want to have a conversation with you. I mean, we are okay having a conversation with ourselves. As you can see, it's like so much, it's fun, but I think it would be much more impactful and much more fun if we engage with you at home as well. So, probably in a couple of weeks after we interviewed our um, guest that's gonna be here next week, I think it would be nice to have like an open discussion with a specific topic, so we can allow you to step in and be with us, in the panel. This is the Global Sunday Show. Thank you if you're watching on Facebook. Thank you if you're watching on Instagram, if you're watching on Diverse TV, and if you're watching on YouTube. Thank you so much. I will see you next week. My last words. I'm trying to remember my last words. They were like really incredible words that I used to say on season 2. I'll try. I'll try to navigate towards those words, which were, "There's only one you." Every time I say it, it's like, oh my God, what is he saying? Does he know what he's talking about? Is he an English speaker? Oh, okay, yeah, he's from Africa. That's why it makes sense. There's only one you. Okay, just one. Okay, all right. There's only one you, and the only way you can uplift people who are next to you, people who are related to you, people who look up to you, is to make yourself the best version of yourself. okay, is to make you the best version of yourself. Because imagine if you have a friend who works so hard, a friend who focuses on themselves to uplift themselves, a friend that has a lot of people that looks up to them, and they working on themselves and making them strong. They being an example to the community. If you are a friend of that person, you would have no choice. It's either you would sign off the deal and not be their friends anymore because you can't keep up, or you pull up your socks and match their standard. Even if they don't say anything to you, even if they don't outline your wrongs or your laziness, you would be inspired by the work that they are putting for themselves. So this means if you work on yourself, you bringing out the best version of yourself, because the best contribution in this world is you. So those are the words that I can leave with you today. So you are watching the Global Sunday Show. I will see you next week, same time, same place. Wait, what's it? Oh, Mr. Larry, when I say something,
I would like to add to that. All right.
Go for it.
I just want to say, Langani, that what you just said is so important. And to those of you listening who speak Swahili, jambo.
I'm gonna find the person who said Jumbo, and I'm gonna play this video from them. I know it was from Instagram, so I'm gonna take this specific clip and play it for. Thank you for teaching us Swahili. Jumbo, we now know there's Jumbo. This is amazing. But anyways, Mr. Lennon, let's say bye to everyone who's watching.
It means matter. It means it matters. Yeah, it means it's important. It matters. Jumbo.
Wow.
It's great.
Wow. Well, anyways, tonight we're having someone who speaks Swahili for dinner.
Now do your Langani fast talk.
By the way, we have a visitor today who speaks Swahili. Okay, we're out of time. Thank you for watching the Global Sunday Show. I'll see you next week, same time, same place. Drop those comments, teach us those languages. Bye-bye. Cheers.